Welcome to the call. We're going to get started in about 30 seconds here, letting everybody come online. So let's do an audio test before we get this webinar started. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Okay, got some loud and clears coming across. Perfect. All right. Guys, we're going to have fun today. We are going to get geeky. And this is really part of the original concept of Geek Out Fridays is we pick up some software and we just get geeky about it. And that's what we're going to do today. And you should see Superman on the screen. Looks like we got a yes on that. Excellent. Okay. So let me kind of summarize. Walt says, hope your knee's doing better. Walt's is actually my hip, and I'm still on a walker, but I'm getting back to 100%, and that's the most important part. Just being positive and getting up every day and making it the best one you can, and that's what I try to do. That's what Wayne and I both try to do. So let's get this puppy rolling here. Today we're going to talk about NotebookLM and its hidden superpowers. Now, give me in the chat, say yes or no. Yes, you've used Notebook, and no, you've never used it. I just want to get an idea of where we stand on the audience.
See, that was a trick. That was a trick question, you see, because we have looked at this briefly in a Geek Out Friday. So we know you're not putting these into action.
Okay, I am so glad. And just for a feedback to you, most of the people on the call today have not used it. They've heard of it, or they don't know what to do with it. I have one or two that use it for complex PDFs. And that is one of the things I want to show you, the hidden superpower. But NotebookLM came out as a kind of note-taking system, and it's designed to for you to put in your notes and get some feedback using AI. But they came out with something very creative with it. They've made it into a podcast maker where it's two hosts talking back and forth, and it's the same host, that it's only in English, and they sound so conversational that a lot of people are using these podcasts. They're creating podcasts on Spotify and everywhere else with these two voices. Now, there's other tools out there that can take this podcast and change the voices or make it into a single script. A lot of work. Right now, it's a lot of work. But 11 Labs does a good job, and I think Descript does a good job of changing everything out. So that's kind of the advanced step. Is if you want to make it if you want to change the way they do podcasts and make it something different, it's kind of beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about today. But what we're going to talk about is all the other features that you can use Notebook for that you may not even be aware of. You can create content, scripts, articles. You can take long form content and make it into a blog post. And I'm going to show you some other cool things that you can do with it inside of the chat box. You can also use it for note taking and information management, and for facts that your customer can access. Okay, and it smartly summarizes everything. So let's get started with the main tips. I'm going to share with you 5 tips today about how to use NotebookLM. Now, before I get started, I'm going to hop over to NotebookLM just to kind of give you a walk around real quick, and then we're going to talk about these 5 superpowers. So let's Go over here to NotebookLM. Okay, here's NotebookLM. When you first log in, you can create a new one. And when you do that, it's going to ask you for sources. You can pull in Google Docs, Google Slides, a website URL. This works 90% of the time. Sometimes they don't pull up if there's like a email gate or something in there, like a newspaper has those. Put in your email to get the full article. In that case, it doesn't work. But YouTube videos. If you have the paid version of Gemini, where you're paying $20 a month, you can put up to 300 videos in a single project. Think about how powerful it could be if you have 300 videos talking about, and I'll use my silly example as beekeeping instead of dog training. You got everything, every video out there about beekeeping, you put it in here, you become the expert in beekeeping because it will read the transcripts and interpret all those sources. You can even copy text. If you have a clipboard, you just copy off your clipboard into there, okay? So you create your sources. Then you have a chat box to interface with the sources. Then you have the studio, and this is where the power comes in of creating the podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up one just to look at it real quick. I have one called Battle of Midway, and we'll talk about this. I was watching the movie Midway and kind of got lazy as I wanted to know hour by hour how the U.S. was in battle with the Japanese. And it was kind of confusing at first on the movie, but I went into Notebook and I put in 11 sources. And I quickly did this. My sources include Wiki, 10 facts about Battle of Midway. I've got all types. I got videos in here. You can see one of the videos didn't come across. Why Japan lost the battle. So I have a variety of sources in here. Went into chat and it summarizes all the sources for you. Sources from different perspectives and level of detail. The battle is significant. Okay, but now down here, you can start asking it questions. You can create a briefing doc inside of chat, but they even suggest questions down here that you can ask it. Okay, otherwise you just ask it. This is a conversation that you can have with the sources. Okay, so if you have 300 sources between YouTube and PDFs and URL links, it's going to research all of them and give you a summarized answer. Okay. Now, here's the fun part: is if you go into Studio, I'm going to load up. I created an audio overview. So it will create the interview back and forth under this audio overview. But down here, you can do other things. Okay, it's an 18-minute podcast, and I could play it. I don't know if you can hear the audio. You probably can't hear the audio. I've got headphones on, but it's pretty good. Let me see if I can change that. See if you can hear it if I do something different here. No, it's Camtasia. I can do it, but I can't do two input sources. But anyway, it's pretty good. In fact, let's do this. Share audio overview. I'm going to share it with everybody. Copy share link, and I will put it into everyone. And you can play with this audio interview. Okay. So this is Battle of Midway. They're going to be talking about Midway going all the way through this. And you may not want to listen to the full 18 minutes, but you can get a kind of an idea of what it sounds like. Okay. Now, here's what I wanted: is I wanted a timeline. So it's taking all my sources and it's going to create a timeline for me. And let's come down here. And it's generating right now, but I've already generated one. Here we go. So here's the pre-battle leading up to it, Battle of Midway, and June 3rd, hour by hour. This is really pretty cool. And it helped me to kind of figure out which carriers, US had and which carriers the Japanese had. I mean, this is remarkable. And it pulled it from all those sources. Here's the main characters. Here's Japan's main characters. So as I'm watching the movie now, I've got some good background information, kind of historical background information in there. So anyway, that's what I'm using it for. This is one of the superpowers. So let's go back to this. You kind of got an idea of what Notebook looks like. So let's talk about some of the superpowers that it has. Back to present here and full screen. So adding notes, timelines, and facts. You could create a study guide. For students, this is perfect. But this goes beyond students. If you really want to learn a subject matter, for instance, the Battle of Midway, I could create a study guide that will have questions and it will have answers down below, but it will be quizzing me about different parts of Midway. The battle, the primary characters, the battleship or the aircraft carriers involved. Really interesting way to learn a topic is to have questions and you answer. Interactive timeline. It's not interactive, but it shows you a timeline in great detail of that battle. Smart Briefs. If you just want a summary of all the documents that you gave it, it will give you a very brief AI-assisted document. But this is fact generation. Now, this will create some it creates facts from only the sources that you give it, okay? So it's not going to go out and find new facts about the Battle of Midway. It's only going to use the sources given. So this is one that, to me, it's one of the superpowers, is I wanted a timeline. I didn't want to go through and read everything. I just wanted a straight timeline. And I created it just by tossing in a bunch of sources, which took me about 10 minutes to do, to find the sources. I went to YouTube, I went to search, and I primarily pulled off Google's search to create a timeline, okay? And I created a little study guide just to see how much I actually knew about Midway. And I didn't know a lot, so it was interesting. But it helped me in what I was doing and watching the movie Midway. Now, most people are not going to go to that extreme, but students studying should go to this extreme to learn a topic. Not only students, but if you want to master a subject, this is a great way to master a subject matter. Like Gary Green's on the call right now, is if he was talking about using the copyright issues with using AI in articles and documents and white papers. And you can put in a lot of YouTube videos, some white papers, and create a little briefing doc about the copyright. Or you could create a blog post, or you could create a white paper based on that copyright issue of AI. I don't want to read a lot. And people are getting to the point where you don't want to read a lot. You want it all summarized to you. So this is what Notebook does really, really well. But it only works with the sources you give it. And I'm going to restate this a bunch because AI traditionally, if you go to Chat, Gemini, all that, and you do deep research, it's going to go out and find everything for you. And it's going to use, it may pull in some facts that are not even applicable to the topic. This will only pull in facts that you provide for it, okay? So that's number one. That's the number one power feature I want to share with you. Number two, it has an interactive mode to ask questions in the audio overview. So if I went back to the audio overview, this is a new feature. In fact, it's even in beta is what they call it. Go back here. And if I'm inside a notebook, I'm up here on Studio, this interactive mode here. So I could go in here and I would have to start the play button. This is the only trick to it. Start the play button. And as they start talking, you would click join. Okay. And when you click join, you would ask it a question, and these two hosts are going to answer the question right away. Like, who won the Battle of Midway? What was the most significant part of the Battle of Midway? Uh, and they're going to answer. They're going to go back to the sources, read everything again, and give you an answer. And it's fairly quick. It's like within 2 or 3 seconds. So imagine if you have any subject matter that you want to learn, go ahead and run it to the studio and then come in and ask it questions specific to what you're wanting to learn about the topic matter, okay, the subject matter. So that is number 2. That's your power button right there, the interactive mode. Let's go back here and I'll start this up. And okay. And next one is customize the audio overview. Now, this is going to be very powerful for things that, for instance, if your learning style is not necessarily a podcast with 2 speakers, but your learning style is a quiz show or some, where you're making it entertaining, a fact or fiction. What I used a custom prompt for is write me a book review telling about the book and about the story and about the characters. And I put it into this customized audio overview. Now, where you get there, well, once you put that in there, you hit generate. So instead of doing the regular podcast, they're going to tailor the podcast around your customized audio prompt. Let me give you some examples. Let's go back here. I'm going to give you some examples of what this looks like. And I'm going to share the doc with you. And let's go here and I'm going to share the doc. And let's go into copy link. Well, I've got a slow mouse today. Copy link. Paste it in there and hit share. Okay. Inside of this, you're going to see some examples. Formal book review. Create a 3-minute book audio review. Start by introducing the author and book's title, then provide a brief spoiler-free plot summary. So just copy that and put it into the custom prompt box. Examples for other formats, a news report. So create a 2-minute news report summarizing key events described in the document. So let's say that, let's see, we need access to the Google Doc, okay? Let me share that again. Restricted. Let's make this anyone with link. Let's try this again. Copy link. I'm going to provide a second link. It may be the same as the first. Okay, that would work. Good. Okay, so you could create a quiz show, a fact or fiction game show, solo speaker. Now, I've tried this, and you may have to tweak the prompt a little bit. Say, use a solo speaker, create an audio guide with step-by-step instructions. Play around with this, but this takes away one of the speakers, which is kind of an interesting way of doing it. Okay. Yeah, you want to, you want a full document in there. So here is a video to watch. This guy has some additional secret podcast prompts to put in there. But this is a really neat way to do it. And let me show you how to do it with Notebook. Okay. So I'm going to get out of this one and go to one that's just a, okay. Here's one, monetize your content, a creator's guide. I only have one source in here. Let's see, sources, pasted text. Yeah, this is probably not a good one to build off of because the content is very short form content. But if you go into Studio, here's where your customize button goes. And this is where you would put whatever prompt you would want in there. If I come back over here to Google Docs, I'll just steal one real quick. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, try that. Come up over here to Notebook, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And then we hit generate. Now, this usually takes 2 or 3 minutes to generate, but putting a custom prompt can kind of direct the studio on what they're going to talk about. Okay, so we'll let that go on, and what I'm going to do is once I get to the end of this little slideshow, then I'm going to go into more detail with this. Okay. And okay. Now, this is in the chat mode where you can put in all these sources and you can start asking it questions. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. It's very easy. It's just same as you would with AI chat. Like, what are the main arguments in this research paper? Summarize the key findings into bullet points or however you want. Explain the complex concept. Guys, if you're doing and I tried this with DeepSeek. DeepSeek has a privacy policy, and a lot of people have been talking about it, is all the information you typed in is publicly, or it's available to the government of China. Now, whether or not that's important to you, there's not a lot of privacy policies that say everything that you put into your document is going to be owned by the United States of America. So it is very you're going to be sharing a lot of information using DeepSeek. That's why I really haven't done any reviews with it yet. I'm not too sure about what I want to share with China and everybody else. So anyway, I'll show you how to use this, but keep in mind, put in all the documents that you want and then start asking questions, okay? If you have, in fact, there was a RS document that I wanted to kind of understand how to do a certain filing. Well, I didn't want to read through all their junk because it's usually 20 pages and there's only one page that makes any difference. So I put in the entire IRS URL for the document that I was reading. And I just asked it to summarize it and tell me, what do I need to do online right now? And it gave me a 3-sentence instruction that I could just go to a link and fill in the information. So I didn't have to read the 20 pages. I just asked it, tell me what this is supposed to mean right here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this. Okay. Lastly, here's my favorite, is if you want to take a book and you want to put it on the Amazon, but it's a 200-page book that you just written with pseudo-write, or you've written it with our tool, with Bookmaster, you've done a DIY. Well, load the entire document as a PDF into Notebook, and then tell it to give you a book review about the book. And it will give you an excellent book review and may even suggest things that you could add to the book, or maybe things that are not needed in the book. So this is one of my favorite things to do, is do book reviews. This is kind of how I do speed book editing, if that's a term, is instead of reading the book 2 or 3 times over and over, I'm going to put it in here and ask it specific questions about the plot, about the characters. Is there anything missing between these 2 characters? And I'll just start asking it in chat, and I'll also ask it in the audio overview. Very easy to do your own book editing with Notebook. Okay. So let's just go in and start playing with it. Now's the time to get geeky here. And I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done with it. Now, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to try to change out speakers, so hopefully you can hear the playback. Let's see if I can do that real quick. Okay, here was the Monetize Your Content, a Creator's Guide. Let's see what they have to say. Wayne, tell me if you can hear this. You probably.
No. Press it again. No.
Okay, can you hear that, Wayne?
No, I can't hear it.
Try one more thing.
I can't hear you either.
I mean, who doesn't want to make a living doing what they love?
That's the dream,
Yeah.
right?
I can hear that.
Yeah.
It really is. So we came across this little snippet of, and it's all about this idea of asset content creators. Asset.
Yeah, I saw that one. It caught my eye too.
It's not very good though. It's cutting out.
Yeah, it's not very good, but I wanted to just show you the real quick on the, how do we interrupt it? Let's see. Yeah, because I've got 3 different microphones and all of them are conflicting now. So. Anyway, this is just something you're going to have to test yourself. I can't do it on a Zoom call with 3 different mics. I apologize. So it's a pretty neat way to ask questions about it. Okay. Wayne, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Puts the audio back. Okay, so this is my book right here. Okay, remember, this is the sources, and I only put in here the, well, it's got both of them in here. I'm going to take these out. I'm going to show you in just a second what this is. Okay, The Lost Workshop of Leonardo da Vinci. This is the PDF. This is the full manuscript of the book. Come over here to chat. And now I can ask it questions about the book. Who are the main characters? And I just hit enter. Turn off Grammarly. So it's reading the entire book real quick, and it's going to give me the main characters of the book. And it's right. Isabella, James, Amelia, and Noah. And then here's the sub-characters that they put in there. Real easy to do. What type of clues do the friends use to solve the mystery? So this book is about clues that Leonardo left about his workshop. So there's maps, riddles, historical and astronomical notations, and mechanical devices. I mean, it's a really cool book. I enjoyed reading it. Now, you could save to notes, and I'll show you where notes are. Notes are in here. They live right underneath here, okay? Notes do not affect the sources unless you move them over to the sources. So you saw where I had some other things in here. Those are my notes that I created. So I was over here in studio and I created some notes. And let's see. So you could create a study guide. And let's just do that. This is a study guide about my book that I wrote, asking me questions and see if I can answer them. And this is kind of like I'll show you the most important one that I really like. When you're writing a book, especially a novel, is create the novel with the idea that you're going to sell it to a movie, to a production company. So you need a pitch. So this is the study guide right here. Let's see what it looks like. Questions. What initial discovery leads Isabella and her friends to believe they might be onto something extraordinary? Well, I don't remember. I wrote the book, but I don't remember. The discovery of a very old map, absolutely, with unusual symbols. What key themes are explored in the story that contribute to their success in the adventure? The story explores power of collaboration. Okay, now this is a teen age book. So this, I've tried to put a storyline underneath the story itself. Glossary of terms. I mean, if you're doing a book report on this book, yeah, it's not the same way that we used to have to do book reports. Briefing docs, here's a timeline. So if I wanted to create a timeline of the book, I'm using the Superpowers right here, and I'm creating it inside of notes. Now, again, notes are not over here in sources to pull from, okay, unless you push them over. So here's the timeline. Initial discovery, decoding clues, identifying the puzzle. Yep, this is exactly right. Cast of characters. This is good. Now, if you want to add it to your sources that can be used in chat in studio, you would just convert it to a source. And it just puts it right here. Okay. Now, you would want to come up here and tag it, check it. So if you check all sources, and you can uncheck them all, but let's say I just want to use the timeline and the book. And I come back over here to studio, get out my notes. I can come back up here and I can get rid of this original audio overview and have it create a new audio overview. But let's see. This is a book report model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this up and I'm going to share this with you. This is the book review. Okay. And let's share audio, make it public, copy share link. And I'm going to share this with you. Okay. Now, think in terms you don't have to listen to it now, but go ahead and click on the link and save the link. But think in terms of if you wanted to if you wanted to talk about a book, if you could get the PDF version of the book and upload it into Notebook, you could talk about anybody's book. So if you wanted to help me sell my book on Amazon, this is a great book review right here. I think it's about, well, it's 11 minutes long. And of course, you can't hear it because I've got all these other stuff going on. But it's pretty decent. I mean, if you listen to it, you'll learn more about the book and the characters. Okay. But now that I have added new sources in here, I would probably want to recreate the studio. Now, I'm not going to do it this time because this is a working copy I'm actually working with. Okay. So let's AI and the future of book writing. Let's see one here. Texas roadside. No, that's only one source. Here we go. AI and the future of book writing. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do is I'm doing a little lead magnet handout to kind of talk about how to do book writing with AI tools. And I'll be mentioning Bookmasher as well. So I got sources. I put in a lot of videos in here, AI book writing, Geek Out Fridays. We had a Bookmasher walkthrough. So it's taken the transcript and it's going to use it to do all its work on Studio and Chat. Okay, so let's come in here and say, and I can save this little, it's looking at all 12 sources and it's writing a very quick brief. Give me the give me the top 5 AI book writing tools. Let's see if it does it. I kind of tricked it a little bit with the sources. Wayne, do you notice anything in here? Based on the provided sources, here are 5 AI-powered tools that can assist with book writing. Novel Crafter, Bookmasher, Pseudo-Write, Jasper. How do you think I got this in here? Well, I went in and I added sources. And I added some videos from Bookmasher, but I also did something else. Let's see if it's in here. I created a note over here. Let's see if it's in here. Yeah. Tools, strategies, and challenges. Okay. So I created a note in chat. I'd say I asked it for a briefing doc. It gave me a briefing doc. Actually, I clicked right here, briefing doc. It created the briefing doc right here. And then I went in and I inserted this part right here. Okay, about Bookmasher and other tools, key strategies. And I just did my little basic edits in here. I converted it to a source. Okay, came up here, it converted into a source. Now, when Chat and Studio are reading these sources, it's reading what I just wrote. I just inserted Bookmasher in there. Jill asked a quick question. Do you have to have a paid version of Gemini to do Notebook? No, Notebook is completely free. NotebookLM.google.com. You get to put in more sources if you have the paid version of Gemini. However, if you don't have the paid version of Gemini, your sources, you can still put in 50 sources for YouTube. Let's see, let this in. Oh, that's something completely different. That's turn that off. Yeah. So I think your limits are 50 here on YouTube if you don't have the paid Gemini, which is still, I mean, putting in 50 YouTube videos is still going to take you a long time to do. But it can pull your Google Docs, it can pull Google Slides. So these are the primary ways that you can be entering. In fact, I got 300 sources total because I have the paid version. You get 50 down here if you have just the free version. Okay. What about text? You would copy your text in here. So if you're in Google Docs, let's say you're right here, and these are, this is the custom prompt. Let's say it's not on Google Drive, we're just pulling it off of Word or something. You could copy this section right here. See if my mouse is working here. Okay. So I would copy that right there. Highlight it, and then copy. And then I could come over here to Notebook and paste the copy text. And you just paste that copy in there. So you can do an entire Word document. Jill asked a good question. How much text can you put in without Gemini as sources? It's, as far as I understand, it is unlimited. But the more you put in there, the longer it takes to read and consume all the sources. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, these books that I'm putting in there have a lot of content. It's 200 pages of a book. So it's not bad. Plus, when I'm doing the YouTube videos, I mean, you know how long I talk on Geek Out Fridays. This one was probably a 2-hour call. So it takes the transcript of that 2-hour call and it uses it. So there's not really a limit as I've ever seen it. So here's what Walt says. This is good. Thank you, Walt. Free version of Notebook. You get 100 notebooks maximum, 50 sources per notebook, and 50 chat queries per day, 3 audio overviews per day, and up to 500,000 words per source. Okay, that's a lot. A 200-page book is probably 50,000 words. So if you're doing books. Now the plus version, you get 500 notebooks, 50 chat queries per day, 500 chat queries, 20 audio overviews, and up to 150 million words total capacity. Okay. That's basically, to me, it's unlimited. Okay. Now, where does that make sense to do? Is I want a very comprehensive AI in the future of book writing. So I can come in and I can do a blog post, I can do articles, I can do just about anything that I want. If I got 50 sources or more in there, I can pretty much be the expert on the topic. But I wanted to show you, remember I told you that there's one thing in chat that is absolutely incredible. Now this is the book, okay? I'm over here to sources, and I'm going to do a movie pitch. So I'm going to take off that. I'm in my book. Come over here. And let's see how we're doing. We're doing good on time. And I'm going to go to chat. I'm going to ask it right here. Make a movie pitch about this book. And we'll spell it right. Okay. If you've never used this prompt, it's a pretty cool prompt to use as far as Notebook goes. Okay, pretty fast. So here it is, the title, the log line. Now I can use this for my book cover. 4 ordinary teenagers stumble upon a hidden map and sketchbook that leads them on a thrilling adventure to uncover the lost workshop of Leonardo da Vinci. This could go on the back cover. I mean, this is just perfect. They must protect their discovery from those who seek to exploit it. Genre, target audience. So you can use this for multiple things. Here's the synopsis. Friends soon realize they're on the brink of a major historical discovery. It bolds the characters in here. So if you want a really good summary of a book, this is the way to do it. So give me a movie pitch. And here's the visual style. Oh, I didn't even realize it did that. And ending notes. The film culminates with friends understanding the true nature of Da Vinci's legacy, a message of hope, connection, and the endless potential of human imagination. God, I couldn't write that better myself. Okay, so you made a movie pitch about it. Come down here and let's do something else. Make a book back cover description for Amazon KDP. Oh, this is good too. Okay, here's a book back cover. Uncover the secrets of a lost genius. Oh, wow. That reads pretty good. I would actually use that. Okay, so I'm going to save this to a note just so I have it in one place. And remember, it comes over here in Studio and it comes down into the notes section. And you can change the title if you want. Say back cover, book cover. Okay. Now, this is not going to be used in the sources unless I convert it to a source. Okay. These are just notes that I can use. If I was a student in high school, I'd have lots of different notes about these sources. You know, how to evaluate any of the sources, and it's all based on this prompt. So we did a book cover, we did a movie pitch about this book, and now we're going to come down and go, make me a few social posts for Facebook to promote this book. Now, are y'all seeing something here? Is I'm not in OpenAI. I'm really not even in Gemini. But because I can limit my sources, I can get very specific with promotions or book covers or whatever I wanted to call it. So let's look at it. Introducing the adventure. So it even gives you a captivating image of the book cover or collage of the main characters. What if you stumbled upon a secret that could change history? Join Isabella, James, Amelia, and Noah in the lost workshop of Leonardo da Vinci. This is pretty good. And it's really based on how good is your image. And this is a good little social post in there. Codes, ciphers, and hidden locations. I love this. Give me a yes if this is something that you would probably use yourself today or this weekend. Okay. Well, you paid for your entire year of Geek Out Friday by last week we wrote a book. This week we're building the promotion package for the book. People ask, how do you market your book? Same way you market your website, same way you market everything, is you have to get a engaging content in front of the person that is ready to buy your book or is curious about your book or your software or your product. Promoting a book is no different than promoting a website, a service, or anything else. Right people, right message, right time. That's all you have to think about. So we're creating the right message. We've got 5 different posts in here, and we got the images. And yeah, Walt says, last one is you get Oprah to add your book to her book club. Absolutely. I don't have Oprah's personal phone number, but I may send this to her. I may send her the movie pitch. In fact, Walt brings up a really good point. Remember, we're talking about getting geeky? Pitch this book to Oprah and her book club. Now, can you do this in AI? In OpenAI, you really can't, because it's going to go out and search for everything about Oprah. And this is not about Oprah. This is about a source right up here. That's why I keep coming back to sources. Now, I love these ideas here on social posts. But let's see what we're pitching to Oprah. Dearest Oprah, I'm writing you today with a story that I believe will resonate deeply with you and your book club. Okay, that's not bad. I doubt she actually reads all these letters, but I think there's probably people that read it for her. I could probably send her a book that I purchased off of Amazon, which is my own book, and package this all up. Now, I would probably use this here, and I'm just going to save it as a note. And we put it right here. It's not in sources. It is in your notes. Let's come back over here to chat. I love these social posts on this. So I'm going to save those over there. I think I already saved the movie pitch, but I didn't save the back cover. No, I did save the back book cover. That's already saved over there. So here's social media post. Here's the pitch for Oprah. I'm just going to label it pitch to Oprah. Okay, come down here, and there's the back book cover. There's the timeline. So I've got a lot of content in here that I can take this immediately and go pitch to Oprah. Let's open this. Let's open this. Okay. So the book back cover, I could take this, put it into Grammarly. I can put it into Gemini, OpenAI, whatever, and say, clean this up, write it in more human. So I could actually do that. Or if I put it in Grammarly, I just write it, adjust it myself. Okay. This is pretty good. I could turn this over to my VA and I could say, hey, take this book, and I send him the PDF, and I say, create a book cover, create a back book cover, create some social posts, go ahead and build the social posts, put them into my Facebook folder that I would use to promote it. So there's a lot of stuff that you can outsource now if you give them the right sources, okay? But as easy as this is, why do you need to outsource it? It's kind of my question, okay? So this was book. This is why you're seeing, this is my favorite one so far on the power, but I also have other ones. YouTube podcast, okay? YouTube has, and I think they started about a year ago. In fact, let's say, when did YouTube start doing podcasts? Okay. Now, their new feature is you put it in a playlist labeled as podcast, and it will feed into an RSS feed that can go into a Spotify or iTunes, but the podcast actually lives on YouTube. So this is a great way. In fact, you can put it in, they're also available in YouTube Music. Podcasts on YouTube are essentially playlists of videos, okay? Now, a video of a podcast could be just a regular video. The only difference is you have to do a square image versus a landscape image as the thumbnail. That's the biggest difference. But you can put badges, official search cards, and podcasts are available. So you can kind of get an idea of what they can be used for. They have their own tab on a channel. So you would create a tab for podcasts, and it would appear in the playlist on a youtube.com/podcast page. Okay. So why am I talking about this podcasting? Well, if you're over here creating your podcast, you have a podcast made. Now, Wayne, I had a product that I demonstrated a while back, and it was how to turn a podcast into a video. Podcast into video. See which one I was using. Riverside does it, Veed, in video. Yep. Now that's short form that you would use there. Audio Tees, Chopcast is another one, a good one. Dory Labs, Opus Clips. Opus is a really good one to use. Trying to find the one that I had. Podbean. So you can see there's a lot of them in here that you can use. I can't even remember the one that I had tested for a video, but there's a lot of them in here that you can that do a pretty decent job. Let's see, Echo Wave, Opus Clips. I use that. Flow Gen. Anyway, you can see there's quite a few in here that you could choose from. But what people are doing is they're making these podcasts and they're putting them onto YouTube as podcasts. So you're going to hear a lot of these coming across conversational. They're great interviews. But if you could come in and change the whole audio up with your custom audio using these, where you create a formal book review, or you come down here and do a news report, or you create a quiz show. And here's the fact or fiction. Create a 3-minute fact or fiction. So instead of doing a long form 15-minute, in fact, I had one the other day with this 39-minute podcast of these two people talking back and forth. So instead, change it up. Everybody does that 2-person back and forth podcast version, but use a custom script. In fact, let's do this. I'm going to create a 3-minute. See if I can do this here. My mouse is running very slow right now. And it's locked up. But you would copy this and you would put it over in your notebook into a custom audio overview. And it's going to create a miniature podcast, a 3-minute. And 3 minutes is not exact. It could be 5 minutes. But it won't change the voices in there. It's going to be the same man, same woman. They're both very cheerful and easy to listen to. Let's see. I think I just messed up my browser here. There we go. But you would put it inside the custom prompt for the, there we go. Let me load this back up. Okay, should be back. Wayne, can you see this again?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Walt asked, how about creating a new Trump versus Biden debate? I don't know if you could do this entertainment wise. You could have the two actors talking back and forth. but they're both very smart, very intelligent audio overviews. So if you're trying to make a spoof of it, this is probably not the right one to use. However, if you're just having a regular political debate between two people, this would be a neat way to use your custom prompt to say, make this into a debate between these two people where they both pick a side and they express the pros and cons of each side. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, Walt. So let's go back in here. This is podcast tutorial. And I think I got some notes down here. No, I haven't saved any notes. Okay, so let's look at the sources. I have 3 videos in here. And let's come up here and the only thing I don't like is you have to reload the conversation, the last conversation, to be able to delete it to start over. You shouldn't have to do that. But let's do a briefing doc on this just while we're waiting. And a fact sheet. And you're seeing, yeah, this is the one that's 35 minutes long. I wouldn't listen to it for 35 minutes long. So I'm going to delete this. Okay. So I'm going to come over here to customize. And okay. Let's try it. Use only one speaker. In fact, let's make it quicker. Let's make it a 2-minute audio overview of the exact steps to create my first YouTube podcast using only one speaker. So here's the creator's guide. Here's some fact sheet about it. What is a YouTube podcast? How is it different from regular YouTube video? These are great. If somebody asks you about what's the podcast, how is it different? You already have all the answers. Can I upload an audio only podcast to YouTube, and how do I avoid double episodes? Oh, that's interesting. Submit RSS feed option when you create a new podcast. Wayne, are you seeing this opportunity that I'm seeing right here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Give me a yes if you own RSS Master right now. This is interesting. I'd never even thought about this way to market your blog post. What if we had an RSS feed that, well, you wouldn't even need an RSS feed from RSS Master. You could, but if you had an RSS feed that created an audio only version of your blog post and it kicked it up to YouTube automatically. So every time you created a blog post, you had either a meta summary, meta overview like we do in AI Master, or you do the full book read or the full article read in AI Master. And if it's kicked over to an RSS campaign, now it goes into RSS Master as an audio and a blog post. So if we could create something that in the scheduler, you send that RSS feed, we'll figure it out. But there's a way to get all your articles converted into a podcast and then automatically fed up to YouTube. we'll investigate that. I think this could crush it. Okay, so back to reality here is we just came up with a product idea. Now, we do RSS feeds, so but I think Wayne and I just picked up on it instantly. Is how do you take advantage of this new tool on YouTube? Well, send it all your blog posts as audios. We'll get back to you on this one, but I just paid for a year's worth of Google Gemini and I don't get charged for Notebook, but it's pretty easy to do. Now let's take a look at the briefing doc. Okay, YouTube is a podcast platform. It's rapidly growing, meaning Google is devoted to this right now. Dual distribution. So not only will it be available on YouTube, but it's also available on YouTube Music app. So you could have in fact, let's hypothesize here. I'm thinking of Garen Green right now. Garen has several news sites. So what if Garen was able to turn those news sites into audios that could be automatically posted up to YouTube as news broadcasts that could go into a podcast on YouTube that gets onto YouTube Music as news? And the only thing he's doing is he's going to, this is a big bridge right here. He's going into, he's finding news articles. He's using the AI Masher Chrome extension to snag that news article and rewrite it in his own tone. And he creates a full audio podcast, pushes it to RSS Masher to push it to his website. I know it's several steps to get there, but the idea is it's a set it and forget it method. Is if you can have a lot of this automated, you've got an idea of creating a newscast almost from scratch. Garen says it's already in the works. Cool. Okay, so we used it as a podcast platform, creating podcasts on YouTube. You can use YouTube Studio to help you. You do have to have a square image. That's the big deal right there. Square image, adding episodes. And we may do a separate YouTube podcast down the road as a Geek Out Friday as we get this working with RSS Masher. This is absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to go back to Studio. And now we've got a 27-minute podcast tutorial. That's not what I wanted. You notice I did put 2 minutes in there. So I'm going to have to play around with this idea. But I could ask it specifically in the interactive mode. Give me the 3 steps to make a video. Yep. Okay. So great ideas here, guys. I'm not a YouTube podcast expert by any means, but yesterday on the 30th, I just uploaded these 3 podcasts, these 3 videos on how to make a podcast. Came over here to chat, asked it some questions, saved them to notes, and I created some notes with this. So we had a briefing doc. Here's a study guide we'll create to ask me questions to see my knowledge about it. But we have some really good ideas. Now I'm not going to listen to 27 minutes, and I'd probably try to rewrite this so it's a little bit shorter. But what I've seen is it's kind of matching the length of the videos that I put in there. Really, really interesting idea. Walt, this won't be posted publicly. Yeah, this is really, y'all are seeing the geek out stuff that Wayne and I sometimes talk about. What can we do with RSS feeds? What can we do with RSS Masher and AI Masher combined together? But the secret workflow we'll share only on a Geek Out Friday to y'all. Y'all are our mastermind members. And this is, yeah, I can see some great work ahead for us. Because here's what I've experienced in the past, and Gary could probably speak on this too. When you find something that Google is putting a lot of effort into growing that division, they give you preferential SEO treatment. They give you preferential rankings. And I saw that effect whenever they did live event or live broadcast, where you could do a live broadcast and you would post the event on YouTube, and the live broadcast may be tomorrow. Well, I could rank that live event announcement over anybody else in a Google search, because Google wanted people to go to live events. So they rewarded you by if you posted a live event, they rewarded you. They don't do that anymore with that particular model. But I think the same thing can be said about podcasts, is if you create an RSS feed podcast, they're going to give you preferential treatment in SEO. We have to test that theory. Yeah. So anybody that wants to test that, that's great. We do have the tools to set it up. We just may have to tweak them just slightly. Okay. So we talked about being an expert on YouTube podcasts that I didn't really know anything about until yesterday. Book reviews. We did a great job on book reviews, social posts, movie pitch, back cover, description, AI and the future of book writing. Okay. And we talked about timelines. Just for fun, I did a battle of Midway. You could put in anything in here. Texas roadside attraction. I only used one source on this. I think it was my book. Let's see. Pasted text in here. Okay, here's a summary of it. And here's the actual text. I pasted in there. And I think this was from chat. So I just pasted content in there. Here's a summary of it. There's like 3 world's largest cowboy boots, Stonehenge. Came over here and compare and contrast. So you can discuss how roadside attractions along Route 66 reflect. This is interesting here. Okay. So so it talked about historic cafes, vintage motels, Midpoint Cafe and Adrian. That's interesting. Okay. Save it to notes. We're in studio. We start accumulating notes in here. Here's a briefing doc of that one transcript I just copied. And we could create I already created a podcast off of it. So what I did was I went into OpenAI and I typed in Texas roadside attractions. Let's see though, I'm going to use Gemini. Hope y'all don't mind. I have the paid version of it, but I'm going to use this to show what else you can do with it. Let's see if I can, I'll just bring up history, because this is a big one here. Customizing notebook, recent, let's see. Okay, here we go. Top 25 national parks, campgrounds in the USA. So if I'm doing a book about national parks, and I actually did this for our coffee table book. I just wanted to get the 25 national parks. So I went in, did that's not the one I'm thinking about. Here we go. Yeah. So I used, inside of Pro, you get the deep research. This takes 20 to 30 minutes sometimes to pull the deep research. So give me the top 25 national park campground ranked by popularity. Yellowstone, why it's popular, the visual description. Okay. And it's got all these references in there. And we'll go all the way down to the bottom so you can see the references. Okay. And it stopped after 14. It couldn't even give me 25. Okay. Sources and related content. Okay. So somebody give me a topic. I'm going to show you a deep research. How you can use deep research with Notebook. It's really you would probably never have thought about this until you see this one little trick and you go, oh, well, that's too easy to do. Wayne, you got a topic for me?
Motorbike training.
I got one. Very similar to what you just asked. So I'm going to go into deep research and I'm going to use this one right here. Okay. And I think in Gemini Studio, you may be able to use this. Okay. 2025 trends on in fact, research e-bikes and how they are going mainstream in 2025.
Oh, no.
Okay. So when you use deep research, it is going to go out and it's going to tell you how it's going to do its research. Of course, this can be about any topic you want. It's going to research websites, find statistics, e-bike adoption and sales. Okay, that looks good. So I'll start research. Now, hopefully it's not going to take 20 minutes to do. But it's going to show you that it's starting the research and it's going to get you to the point where you can ask it questions. Okay. So that's how I start this off, but I've got one already done and we'll just go back to the campground. Okay. And I'm going to come down to the very bottom, Ask Gemini. It's done all the research. It's got all the stats and everything about parks. I'm going to say, make me a bucket list of the top 5 campgrounds and best time of year to see them. So when you're using this deep research, it's going to look at all the sources. Again, every time you ask it a question, it won't pull from what is immediately above in the thread like OpenAI or Anthropic would do. It has its sources. It's going to go back and read them real quick. Let's see where we're at on our e-bike here. Okay. We're ready to, well, we're not, it's still researching. It's got 33 websites about e-bikes so far. And it's reading them. So this is pretty interesting here. And we'll keep adding to this. Let's go back into our campground. Here's the top 5. Okay. Sources and related content. Now, if I come back up here, I'm going to say, come down here. I'm going to use the triple dots down here. Oops. Export to doc. So instead of sharing the conversation, I'm going to export all this research into a doc. I'm going to come down here and this is my top 5. I'm also going to do the same thing here. I'm going to share it, export to doc. Okay. And let's ask it another question. Let's see. What is the most popular national park to visit in the summer? So what I'm from this research is I'm trying to get 3 or 4 docs that we can pull from for Notebook. Well, that's working. I'm going to come over here to e-bike, see where we're at on it. Okay. It's still researching. Let's go back over here to campgrounds. Okay, we got our top 5. And I guess when I exited out, I guess I missed it. So let's go over here and we're going to go create new. Upload sources. I'm going to go, remember we just put them in Google Docs. And here we go. I'm going to pull that one. I think I can select multiple. No, I can select only one at a time. National Park. Back over here to sources and add source. Google Docs. And here is our top 5 bucket list. Okay. Now we can go into chat. We can go into studio. Let's go to studio and just do a briefing doc real quick.
I think you've added the same one twice.
I did. Oops. Yeah, you're right. So let's remove source. Let's add that source. Try not to do that again. Keep this list. Here's the top 25. Okay. Now come back over to studio. Let's do this again. Briefing doc. And we don't necessarily need timeline, but let's do a fact in there. So let's see. Summarizes information from 2 sources. Okay, that's good. Visual description. Key facts by park. Okay, that's interesting. Key facts by campground from the list, bucket list. Okay. This is great. Now, I would, if I'm writing a book, I'm going to come over here to chat and let's just talk to it. Give me a book outline that I'll just say that. Okay, here's a book outline, sources, introduction, each chapter. So park introduction, why it's popular, visual description, campground specifics. Okay, so it may not be the top 25. Here's a special second campground bucket list. It's pretty good. So give me some book titles for it. Wilderness and Wonder. This is great. I like that title. Discovering America's National Parks. Okay. So I've been talking about books, but what if we wanted to make a blog post for the top 5 parks to visit this year? Now, this is not going to be quite as good as what you would do in OpenAI or something or ZimWriter or just writing yourself, but it gives you a great outline to start with. So here's a blog post about the top 5 national park campgrounds. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I can save it to a note. So we got some ideas for an article here, and I can come up here and say customize, and I say let's talk about top 5 parks to visit this year. Keep it brief. So I would just kind of play around with that custom instruction. Now, if you don't even want to mess with custom instruction, just kick start or generate, and it will create the full podcast for you. So anyway, I hope you see what I'm doing here. Is I'm coming from Gemini straight into here through Google Docs, and you can do the same with OpenAI or any of the products. Is save it as a Google Doc, or you're going to have to copy the entire article and put it in as copied text. And let's see, we did facts. This is best time to visit these national parks. This is pretty good. So you could create a fax to go on the bottom of an article or a blog post. This is really neat. Okay, so we got geeky. Any questions, guys? I'm right at an hour and a half. And we did get geeky. But I hope you feel comfortable enough to use this. And just remember, this is kind of like personalizing your own AI generative search by putting in sources. And in sources, it's only pulling from this box. So if you have notes down here and they're not in sources, it's not going to pull from them. Okay. So we created with the chat, we created an article. Here's a blog post. Here's the facts. Here's best campgrounds. But it's still only pulling from these two sources. Okay. So we have notes, we have sources, and we have chat. Okay. Wayne, any questions?
No, there isn't actually.
Okay. Well, cool. I think everybody's excited about using it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Well, I guess it logged me out of. So thanks, guys, for joining us today. Hope you got a lot out of it. And we will see you in 2 weeks. I think that's February 14th is our next one. And hope you have a good weekend. Bye for now.
Bye now.